Alright, we're live. Alright, we're
Hello and welcome to Storytime with Scrappy and Friends. We are here today on an attempted marathon run. With any luck, we will conclude reading Erika today, or cry trying. With us today is Harry and our trooper of a narrator, Nova.
ho ho ho. Oh no, too many toasters. Something funny joke.
Scrappy will cry trying, but I won't.
This will probably be our last episode before the US Thanksgiving Day, so let's enjoy ourselves.
When is Thanksgiving? When does that happen for you guys?
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. We don't have that, so.
Last we left our heroines, they were having dwindling gatherings due to cold weather, which I wish we could even suffer that properly nowadays.
Yeah, right.
At least they can go outside.
Jeez.
And apparently there have been holdups in the Pokegear distribution.
Oh yeah. I'm remembering where we are now.
Yes, so yes, this is Erika, Chapter 13, Winter. And Pika Blue Kachu, I can't with that name. The author has left a content warning. The following chapter is still entirely PG-13, but does contain sexual references. See the end of the chapter for more notes. And with that, we may begin reading. Fortunately, Erika and I still made the time to see each other relatively often, despite the worsening weather. We met up for noodles in Celadon City a few times at the weekends, and if we couldn't meet, we would at least call. Living just one city apart was certainly a blessing.
Testing. It should be good.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Was eager to show me that even if we weren't able to meet for tea, that didn't mean we'd be spending a lot less time together. She told me that she didn't want me developing cabin fever by keeping to myself, like I used to, during the cold season. I appreciated it though. I was admittedly still not at all absurd. I don't think she knew yet just how much I adored spending time with her, or how much I looked forward to it all the time. It was partially my own fault for sometimes letting my rooted introverted habits get the better of me. There were a few evenings besides Wednesday or weekend or when Erika had invited me to her place, but I was still so stuck to my schedules that I either declined or took a lot of persuading. And even if I did accept, would become anxious and not the best company for her. That said, I had certainly become more sociable overall, and I did tell her I appreciated her attempts too. The thought of holding up in my gym all winter and seeing no other people besides challengers didn't even cross my mind, even though that used to be the norm for me. Gradually, I could feel myself becoming more comfortable with the idea of spending time with her for the sake of spending time with her. Erika made that easier for me by being such a comforting presence in my life. In the cold weather, she would wrap the arms of her kimono around me. We would cuddle. We would drink tea or hot chocolate with just each other and our Pokemon as company. Sometimes for hours and hours. Still, our time together wasn't always smooth sailing either. Certain things happened which rekindled some ugly memories and fears from years past. As autumn turned to winter, one Wednesday was particularly stormy. I hadn't seen Erika in over a week though. I was determined to make the trip anyway. Obviously, no one else is meeting for tea, so I headed directly to Celadon Gym instead. Erika greeted me with a concerned smile.
I'm happy to see you, but you're so drenched you almost look like something out of a horror movie. I hope you don't get sick.
She held her arms out for me. I rubbed the back of my head sheepishly and walked into her embrace, but only briefly. I, I, I'd rather not soak your nice kimono. Erika giggled. She would normally say something like, I don't mind, but she was probably used to me caring too much about this kind of thing by now.
Let's get you dried off then.
The wind and rain thrashed against the gym's windows. We sat huddled together, mostly in silence while Pokemon played or napped in the warmth of the gym's living area. Even with the lights on, it was so dark and gray outside that it felt dim inside. Erika sat behind me with her arms around my torso as my head lay comfortably on her shoulder. Sorry if you had to close the gym for me today. Erika pecked my cheek affectionately and gave me a squeeze.
It's fine. I usually close on Wednesday morning anyway. And only hot-headed trainers like the champion would want to challenge me on days like this. This is much nicer than seeing challengers.
My head against hers.
Gyms are definitely quieter on days like this anyway, huh?
She was right. This was nice, but the weather wasn't letting up. In fact, it was getting severely unpleasant, yucky, miserable. The warmth of bundling up with Erika and drinking hot drinks together was the only thing keeping my anxiety at bay. We must have fallen asleep on each other at some point, because I distinctly remember being jolted back into reality by a loud thunderstrike. My head and I rubbed my head and slightly aching neck, feeling a little embarrassed by my own reaction. But to my relief, Erika was still laying asleep against my back. God, my hair is a mess, I groaned. I gave her hand a little squeeze to see if she would wake up. Aren't you uncomfortable sleeping like that? Erika stirred and mumbled, squeezing my hand back as she realized I was here.
Aren't you?
She pecked the back of my head and sleepily let go of me, giving me space to stand up and stretch my limbs. Looking sad like that can't be good for me, I hoped. Erika giggled as she stretched herself a little, like a sleepy skitty. I looked out the windows. It was getting dark. I should think about getting home, I mumbled regrettably as the blood returned to my legs. Erika stood up and followed me.
In this weather? I think you should stay here instead.
She hummed as she lovingly slinked her arms around my hips from behind. I blushed and tried to object. No, I'll be okay. I can use telekinesis to keep the weather off me, and I've already taken so much every day. Erika shook her head and nuzzled my hair.
There's plenty of food. You'll get to keep your and you'll get to keep and you'll get to keep your girlfriend company in this scary weather.
That's if this scares you. I turned around to face her.
Stay with me anyway, please. I want you to.
Back as she held me close. If you insist, I sighed nervously.
I do.
Erika grinned.
I'm going to make some more tea. I'm going to make more tea and then some food for us.
My cheek then excitedly bounced out to the kitchen area. I went to keep the Pokemon company while she was busy. She really did want me to stay with her, didn't she? By now, Erica and I had cooked for each other a few times. Her cooking was a lot more passionate than mine, expressive, packed with flavor. It probably sounds cliche for our cooking to be so reflective of ourselves, but it makes sense when you consider how well she knows her plants. Herbs and spices were child's play to her, and she threw together meals that were a delight to the senses. As always, it was delicious and warmed me from head to toe. If it wasn't obvious, I much preferred Erica's cooking to my own. Eating her food made me feel cherished and cared for. I beamed at her as I finished, my cheeks warming up with a hearty contented pink, and she beamed back. You're hosting me. I'm going to wash the dishes, I declared and got up.
No, don't you dare.
Erica tried to chase after me, but I held my finger out to her in objection.
I don't know whose line that is. It might be yours or mine.
Yeah, I think it's yours.
Pardon me. Don't worry, it's a special treat.
I casually leant on the kitchen counter with my back to the sink as the dishes rose and danced with the brushes and soap in the air behind me, cleaning themselves effortlessly. I smirked at Erica and giggled confidently. Erica's eyes lit up. Her mouth took a small O shape and she clapped quietly.
You show off! Here I thought you didn't like using your powers like that.
Slitted. I don't. But after seeing your reaction, maybe I don't mind doing it for you. Erica went red and fanned herself. I laughed as I carefully set the clean dishes back down with my telekinesis. The evening was going really smoothly for the most part, but Erica was determined to not let me show her up, I guess. I'll take the floor, I stated with intent, as we decided to call it a day and head to bed. Comfort was not something that I found particularly important. Besides, but sleeping on the same roof as Erica was extremely comforting.
No, you'll take my futon.
Putting her hands on her hips bossily and walking up close to me. That doesn't seem fair. What about you? Do you have any spares? I raised an eyebrow with concern.
I'll be taking my futon too.
Erica smirked. Her eyes took the mischievous shape as she smoothly backed me against the bedroom wall. She giggled flirtily as she gripped my sleeve and kissed my jaw ardently. I opened my mouth to say something, but obviously nothing came out besides maybe some choked, fluttered squeaks. My body temperature bubbled up rapidly until my head felt as hot as a magmar, and I'm pretty sure my hair was stood up completely straight. She seductively traced her hair along my collarbone as her lidded eyes stared into mine.
Is that a yes then, my cute Sabrina?
My eyes were completely trapped in hers. All I could muster was a meek but eager nod before she buried her lips in mine, gripping and tugging me breathlessly towards her futon as we kissed. I spent the next few days mercilessly taking out challengers and nursing a particularly bad headache. Maybe it was caused by the cold, but it certainly wasn't helped by the feeling of shame that danced around my head since Thursday morning. Erika called me every day and visited me over the weekend, offering me words of reassurance and comfort. I didn't want to show her my red face. I didn't want to leave my gym. I buried my eyes in my arms and mumbled as she rubbed my back and assured me it was okay, that I didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes I truly detest my psychic abilities. It had been ages since my last episode, and I hoped that now I had Erica, now I was being more sociable, I would no longer become so mentally overwhelmed that I lost control of my powers. Instead, I made another fool of myself during what was supposed to be the most romantic night of my life so far. But what's worse is I did it to Erica again. I caused damage to her gym with my powers again, just like I did back then. I vented meekly to Alakazam one evening, as tears trickled down my cheeks. Of course, I didn't bring up back then to Erica, but I had to look bad. I didn't want to remind her of that time no matter what. So, I pretending I wasn't scared of the past anymore, but it was becoming more evident that I was. And he still tried to assure me.
It's really not a big deal. Sabrina, it's okay. No one was hurt, and you didn't damage anything important.
But it wasn't just that. Uh, I I let you down. I repeated to her ad nauseum. I let you down. It was so important to me. Doing it right was so important to me. Impressing her was so important to me.
It was actually kind of fun.
I giggled comfortably as she rubbed my back and ran a hand through my hair.
The futon floating us up into the air like that, and flopping back to the ground. It was exciting.
I used to look at her. Please, don't remind me. I'm serious. I, I groaned irritably, my head stinging as I remembered the loud abrupt thump that humiliatingly concluded the first time I had ever slept with someone. Never my night in a glistening kimono, though. Erica devised other ways to get my mind off of last week, with a little convenient help. Thanks for trying, Erica, but I don't think I'm gonna get over this anytime soon. I rubbed my temple when she called me on Monday evening.
Actually,
Erica clasped her hands together optimistically.
I called because we are going to do tea on Wednesday. Just at Celadon department store's inside food court rather than outside in the cold.
Raised an eyebrow. Why?
I got a pretty urgent call from Janine this morning. It sounds like she needs help with something and is hoping to talk to some gym leaders about it this week, weather permitting.
So it's different, but sufficiently distracting. As I headed to Celadon department store on Wednesday, my head was more curious about what you needed help with than it was dominated by my personal disaster last week. It was early, and there was fresh snow around. Commuters and trainers were largely still asleep, but even though it was dark, snow seemed to glow brightly for miles around. Celadon City's roads were caked in it. Each step I made was greeted with a pleasant crunching sound of the snow beneath my boots. I realized that it had been years since I'd walked through snow like this.
Laura, Lorelai would love this weather.
Erica waved to me as I approached Celadon department store, which was already open and lit up, illuminating the snow out in front of it. Coco's daughter, Janine, was standing with Erica and waved meekly at me. Will she be making an appearance? I lifted an eyebrow. I still had never formally met an Elite Four member. Erica laughed as we made our way to the indoor food court. I'll take that as a no, then. Janine remained quiet. A short while later, in a small party of gym leaders, had gathered in the food court, a larger group than normal, despite the weather. Jasmine was there, as was Misty, Serge, and a couple of people I was unfamiliar with.
I don't think anyone else is going to turn up.
Stuff. She was always so good at taking point in these kinds of things, with a clear and confident intonation.
I'll quickly introduce everyone, then Janine can begin.
Motions to the Cantonian gym leaders.
Misty, Lieutenant Surge, and Sabrina probably need no introduction. They're all quite famous as far as Kanto trainers go.
Quietly, while Misty and Serge both waited confidently. Serge's loud presence was only really overshadowed by one other person, an intimidating man I didn't know.
This is Olivine City's gym leader, Jasmine.
Jasmine smiled nervously.
Over here, we have Azalea Town's gym leader, Bugsy.
The young purple-haired boy I didn't know nodded cheerfully.
And last but certainly not least, the Elite Four's Bruno.
Yet the man with the intimidating and powerful presence. And some of the other gym leaders did too, myself included. What was an Elite Four member like him doing out here?
Aren't you cold?
At the shirtless Bruno with her arms crossed. Bruno smiled softly and shook his head.
It helps me keep my mind focused.
Hands again, once more taking attention and preventing idle chatter.
Right. Janine, if you'd like to begin. Yeah, sure.
Slammed her hands on the table.
Whoops. Whoops. Too hard.
But I can put her hand on the table more gently this time.
As you probably know, I'm Janine, daughter of Fuchsia City's gym leader Koga. You already know why we're here today. But long story short, Fuchsia City's Safari Zone will be closing down for good soon.
So why didn't you surprised? Safari Zone had been Fuchsia City's biggest tourist attraction for as long as I can remember.
The old Safari Zone warden, Mr. Balba.
And he continued.
Is he retiring due to the cold weather?
He interjected curiously.
Are you nuts? A little cold couldn't keep old Warden Slowpoke down.
Responded spiritedly.
He's actually just bored. He's bored of Fuchsia City, he's bored of Kanto.
He pouted, now seeming a little upset.
All the Pokemon appearing from Johto and other parts of Japan have left him hungering for greener pastures. Most of you I called here because you're passionate about Pokemon conservation and habitats. I want to do something to keep the Safari Zone alive.
Why didn't Koga hear himself? I asked coolly, trying to make sense of what Janine was so panicked about.
I don't know.
He responded irritably.
It's like he doesn't care. He seemed so at peace with Balba's decision and told me that if I care so much, I should take matters into my own hands. I just thought he would care more about Fuchsia City's legacy.
corner of my eye, smiling to himself. Janine sat down.
Phew!
Big swig of tea. Silence filled the room again.
Oh boy, here it comes. So, what would you like us to do, Miss Janine?
Gentleman asked awkwardly, evidently still unsure why exactly we were here.
Oh,
Janine stood up again.
well, in order to keep the Safari Zone alive, I was hoping Kanto and Johto's gym leaders could help inspire Mr. Baoba to continue his work. I'll be helping him with whatever he decides, but we may need a lot of help if he decides to set up a park in Johto, for example. Johto's eco yeah. Johto's ecosystem is really interesting.
They exclaimed excitedly.
I'm sure there will be someone I'm sure there will be somewhere there that inspires him. So what? You just want us to help Balbo research Johto's wildlife and eventually help him move locations?
Still confused.
Something like that.
I replied to Miss Lee softly.
Gosh. Whatever I can do to help old man Slowpoke, just say the word and I'm there.
She grinned.
His efforts to keep rare Pokemon thriving are an inspiration.
Birch was inspired by these kind of things too. Janine beamed at everyone, clearly relieved.
Thank you. Thank you all. I want to do whatever I can to keep Fuse's legacy alive, for the city's sake and for my dad's sake.
He walked up to Janine and rumpled her hair.
You worry too much, Janine. You worry too much, Janine. You didn't need to plan a big meeting like this just to ask for a little help. Hey! I'm older than you.
Oh, well, someone stayed behind the chat. Call it fraud if you will, but it was admittedly relieving to see that other powerful trainers had things that kept them awake at night too. Plus, it was nice to have a new project source to help keep my mind looking ahead. In the end, only a few of us were left. Erika, Janine, and myself were chatting together while Bruno quietly drank tea. Bruno had remained quiet most of the time he was there. But after finishing tea, he stood up and spoke to Janine as he made his way out.
Miss Janine, be assured that your father does care about the Safari Zone.
Know that warmly.
He is a busy man. He may not say this to you directly, but I am confident that he simply wishes for you to prove to yourself and Kanto that you have the drive to accomplish great things and become a powerful and influential trainer, even without his help.
His words of reassurance, but quickly hid it as she bowed deeply to Bruno. Bruno waved to us all and left silently. Erika and I had said goodbye to Janine too, who vanished into the snow without leaving any footprints. Sometimes I forgot she's a real ninja, I said with a completely straight face, and Erika laughed. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a young boy sulking at a cell around the parking store too.
Was that Blue? I was just thinking it looked like him.
It's my head. Arsenius, what's he been doing? What's he been doing since he lost the champion title anyway? I asked, but Erika just shrugged. So, what do you think about the Safari Zone problem? I asked Erika, trying to make conversation. I still wasn't really sure why Erika invited me. Compared to everyone else there, I didn't know much about habitats or conservation efforts.
It's important to me.
I wasn't at all surprised.
Celebrating, celebrating, celebrating the natural world, giving humans a chance to see and understand rare Pokemon from all over the place.
He looked up at the low winter sun.
I want to do what I can to help people understand nature and Pokemon.
He then turned to me and smiled sweetly.
What about you?
Why did you invite me?
I invited you because you would have wanted me to.
That morning sun hitting the white snow beneath my feet for a few moments, and rubbed Erika's hand with my thumb. I don't know much about nature. I had never paid it much mind or understood it, but your wondrous passion for these things moves me deeply. It makes me long to see the world through your eyes. When I think about how beautiful the world must look to you, I want to understand. Smiled, smiled sheepishly. It, it's been that way since we were kids. Erica looked to me as if she wanted to say something, but closed her mouth and smiled gently instead, squeezing my hand. I smiled fondly back at her.
You're the best, Sabrina. I hope you know that.
Nowhere. Hmm. I felt a little better as she gripped my cold hand and beamed at me like that. Look at this talking cutie.
And end chapter. Oh, that was interesting.
No, yeah, we have the whole Safari Zone thing going on now. I was wondering when that was gonna come into play.
Or Sabrina suffering psychic incontinence.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I like about this story is that since it is like based on events from the game or whatever, I like how it pretty much like shows what the gym leaders were doing behind the scenes instead of like having the player assume that they kind of just stand there and do nothing the whole time. So that's kind of cool, I suppose.
I'm just imagining Blue just wandering the world as a hobo after losing the champion title before he gets appointed to be a gym leader.
Dang. Yeah.
I mean, he could live with his grandfather, but I just imagine he's going to be wandering.
Yeah, I'd imagine like he'd be pretty messed up after that.
I mean, he gets to suffer a nice little midlife crisis at the age of 10.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed that.
Yep.
Based off of the author's notes at the end of chapter 13, they're going to Johto now.
Yep.
It's a whole new world we live in.
I don't really have the many other comments to go off of, but it's nice to get like the other characters in now.
Actually, which gym leaders have we? Are all the Kanto gym leaders accounted for now? We got Brock, Misty, Lieutenant Surge, Sabrina, Erika, Koga, who didn't show up, but Janine's there. So everyone except Blaine and Giovanni, I guess.
Right.
Blaine was mentioned at least, but yeah.
Blaine will show up later, I know that much.
Alright, is everyone ready for chapter 14?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Chapter 14, New Year. I can't believe we're doing this. I yawned as Erika greeted me in front of Saffron City train station. She was wearing a beautiful warm pink and white kimono, one I hadn't seen her in before. Despite how early and dark it was, the air around her felt light as always.
Just giggled at me.
Not a morning person, gorgeous.
I probably had sheepishly. I am, just not this early usually. I think she was trying to not so subtly
Novia cut out.
yeah, sorry. Sorry. I think she was trying to not so subtly compliment my kimono, but because of course she was. Unfortunately for her, I was still a little too embarrassed and drowsy to really appreciate it. I hadn't worn one like this in a long time. As we made our way to the magnet train, I smiled frequently at her. You don't be struggling at all. She puffed out her chest proudly.
Of course, tending to plants is a tending to plants is a oh my gosh. Tending to plants is a 24/7 job. I often have to I often have to wake up very early to water them, especially in the summer months.
After you say something like that, but hearing her boast about herself helped warm my spirits and wake me up a little.
The train is already so busy, even at this time.
As we tried to find a seat. The trip to Golden City wasn't a long one, but it was still nice to sit next to one another. I'm not surprised, I sighed. I bet it's going to be heaving for the next few days. It's become the most convenient way to travel to Johto besides flying. We luckily found space to sit as the train began to move. It quickly picked up speed, which surprised Erika a little, and she held on to my arm.
Oh,
We
have you have you have you been on this before? It's a little dazing.
signaled him. Soft hair with my free hand. I haven't actually. I've never actually been to Johto for leisure, only ever for stage shows. Erika rubbed my arm confidently.
That makes one of us. I've never had I've never had I've never had the chance to go at all. I've always been too busy.
This will be your first time ever to Critique City with me?
Yes, silly.
Beamed at me warmly.
The magnet train makes it a much more viable trip, but I only suggested it because it sounded like a wonderful way to spend our first New Year as a couple.
Color in my face deepened until I was almost as red as my kimono. Erika squeezed my hand and fanned her face with her free hand, turning pink too. We held hands in silence for the remainder of the short trip, enjoying the warmth of each other in this frigid weather. The train carriage was largely quiet, save for the faint chatter of some other groups of friends and families. Many of them were dressed in kimonos too, so it's likely that they too were planning to visit Ekratique's shrine for the new year. The darkness of early morning cantos zipped past the windows, followed by the dark of Johto. Many places I had never seen before blurred within my field of vision for too short a moment for me to take in. As the train slowed, the huge metropolitan cityscape of Goldenrod became clearer through the windows. Erika's eyes widened slightly. It wasn't quite as big as Saffron City, but it certainly seemed more tightly packed. As we pulled into the station, the other passengers busily poured out outside and began to shuffle towards Ekratik like a congregation. Some groups waited for coaches near the station, while others simply walked towards Route 35. Yeah, I poured Erica on my arm. Erika fanned herself to hide her blushing, but was happy to oblige. He kept up decent pace so as not to be at the back of the big crowd that would inevitably dominate Ekratik in the coming days.
You're familiar with this area?
As we headed towards Route 35. Sure, right. That tall building next to the station was the radio tower. I've been there a few times for shows and interviews. I've been to Ekratik for a show before too. I felt Erica grip my arm a little tighter.
Sometimes it really, sometimes it really feels like I'm dating a celebrity.
Grinning at me. I sighed and nudged my hip into hers sheepishly as we walked. A little way up Route 35, the road split into two with a quiet wooded path splitting off from a large gate. Most of the long crowd passed through the gate, with a few taking the wooded path to avoid the crowd. Erica fell quiet and stopped us for a few moments. Before long, she began to tug me in the direction of the wooded path to Route 36. I knew why. It's through that gate, I pointed out, trying to slow her down.
Sorry, could you repeat that one more time? It kind of cut out.
Yeah, the national park is through that gate, I pointed out, trying to slow her down.
I know that.
Responded.
I told you already. I don't want to go there. It would be a waste of time.
To go, I suggested coolly. I squeezed Erica's hand reassuringly and pulled her towards the gate.
Sabrina!
Erica objected, pouting. I grinned at her confidently. Come along. Don't make me pull out the telekinesis. I gave her hand another tug and she hesitantly followed me, huddling up to my side and pouting. The other side of the gate emerged into an open, serene space. Despite the large parade of people passing through the park, it was such a large area that it scarcely seemed busy at all. I led Erika towards the main northern part of the park and gave her a little squeeze of my arm before letting her go. She glided dreamingly towards the park's fields of long grass, almost as if she was being driven by some supernatural force. Then she stood completely still and took it all in. Things fell silent. Tucked in the cold morning breeze, you watched as the fading moonlight shimmered over slightly snow-tipped flowers and grass, reflecting through the park's delicate water fountain. She listened to the trickle of the water from the fountain, which would somehow be heard with crystal clarity despite the shuffling, pattering crowds passing through the plaza. I watched her raise her arms just slightly as she stood there and felt the wind, facing the field with her back to me. I experienced all of this through her. It wasn't any kind of mind reading either. I looked at the park as I imagined she would, and found myself appreciating it in the ways I thought she would appreciate it. Everything in nature looked much more intricate and significant when I imagined how she must see it. Before I knew it, a heartfelt smile covered my face as I watched her. Warmth filled my cold body.
Sabrina,
Erika quietly whimpered. She held out a hand behind her, outstretched and beckoning for me impatiently. I walked up to and held her hand, which was trembling slightly. She spun around and pulled me into a tight hug, hiding her face in my neck. I felt her legs buckle slightly as she held on to me.
I told you I didn't want to come.
I had to stifle her emotions.
Ah, this is so stupid.
Drew back comfortingly. Don't like it? I joked facetiously.
Dummy.
Then she tried to compose herself.
I'm not going to want to leave. It's going to be my fault if we miss the sunrise in Ekrutik. You have to see me become this humiliating mess. This is why I didn't want to come.
She spoke. I felt her becoming more overwhelmed, so I squeezed her tightly, and I kissed her head. I don't know. Really early is already starting to feel worth it to me.
Sabrina.
Meekly breathed on me and lightly hit my shoulder.
I thank you. Really.
We sat together on a bench and watched the park for a short while. It was mostly empty, besides those making their way to Ekritik, and just a few others who had decided to watch the sun rise from here too. I should explain. There is nowhere in Kanto like Johto's National Park. Erika had always wanted to visit, to see its clearly and lovingly tended grass and flower fields. It was a big part of the inspiration behind her trying to push for more natural spaces in Celadon City, as well as other parts of Kanto. I even remember her talking about it back when we were kids in school.
It's a testament to what humans can do to celebrate and tribute nature.
It's
The national park is what's possible when nature is loved and treated like a piece of artwork. Almost like a loving apology for how much we as a species have harmed the natural world.
been part of the plan, but we happily watched the sun rise over the national park together on the first morning of the new year. And I keep telling you, I loved it. I giggled as we made our way through Route 36 towards Critique City, the early morning sun bathing the snow. Erika was clinging to my arm and pouting, still embarrassed by her wanting to display her vulnerable side earlier.
I, either way, I still owe you one. You can only see the New Year. You can only see the New Year sunrise from Ekrutik once a year.
Yes. And we've both gone through our whole lives so far not seeing it once, so I'm sure we can manage one more year. I squeezed, I squeezed her hand reassuringly, reminding her that I wanted to be here with her. Air critique, the critique city was bustling already, busy stuffed with crowds of friends and families with Pokemon. Stalls were propped up along the roads offering various activities, souvenirs, and street food, but Erica and I made our way directly to the city's shrine area, because it was only going to get busier. A familiar face bounded excitedly towards us as we neared the northern part of the town.
Eric, oh gosh, Erika, Sabrina, Happy New Year!
A gentle bow. Erica and I thoughtfully bowed back at her, smiling.
How long have you been here, sweetie?
Dazzling, who was wearing a light turquoise kimono decorated with a neat white and yellow sash.
I've been here for a few hours already. Amphi has been able to Amphi has been able to take a break today, too.
And that Humphrey was happily snacking on some mochi. Jasmine held out a plate stuffed with mochi she'd been carrying.
I made a bunch of mochi. I usually make some every year, but I made much more this year because I knew friends from Kanto would be coming. I'd love for you to try some before Whitney gets here and cleans the plate off.
Mind, I smiled nervously at Jasmine. I haven't eaten this.
Karina.
Yes, me like she was my mother or something. We let out some of our Pokemon and set ourselves to the side of the busy area, snacking on the mochi Jasmine had so kindly offered us as we waited for Whitney to show up. A few of the passers-by asked me for autographs.
You two look wonderful, by the way.
Leaned in warmly as we waited, which made me blush a little.
Sabrina, that kimono suits you so naturally. It's, like I almost didn't realize I hadn't seen you in one before until today.
Erika turned to look at me too, grinning.
Actually, now that Jasmine mentions it, I haven't had a good look at you in the sunlight yet. Want to twirl for me, hun?
Raised an eyebrow. Very cheekily and Jasmine laughed, so I hesitantly span around on the spot, trying to look graceful, but not doing a great job of it.
That crimson is absolutely astonishing. You stand out beautifully even in the sea of people, and it sits perfectly on your slender figure. If looks could kill.
Moments, holding her fingers out like a picture frame. I blushed again.
If anyone could kill someone with a look, it'd be a psychic, huh?
And Misty fearlessly strolled into the conversation, grinning and waving.
Happy New Year, girls!
My eyes. Very funny. I didn't find it funny. Happy New Year, Misty. The other two also greeted Misty, who was wearing a dark blue kimono decorated with a Gyarados pattern, though the Gyarados were red.
You look wonderful as well, dear.
Yes. Clearly excited to not be the only one in a kimono for once.
The red Gyarados are particularly striking. Oh!
But she admired Misty's kimono.
Like in the legend of the red Gyarados at the Lake of Rage.
Misty nodded confidently.
Exactly! Exactly. I absolutely have to see it for myself someday. If it's real, I mean. It is real. Most Johto legends are.
Acting voice. This time a blonde man dressed in an eerie purple kimono. Despite his appearance, his mannerisms were nonchalant and laid back. He waved at us all and introduced himself.
Happy New Year, Kanto gym leaders. I don't think I met most of you. Anyway, I'm Morty, the gym leader here in Ekrotique City.
But he had already heard of me and had met Erika before. Her social circle really did extend pretty far.
So, Morty, have you seen the red Gyarados yourself?
Misty excitedly asked.
Nope, but way too many people have claimed to have seen it at that lake to be a coincidence, right? Something of a cryptid to people in Johto, but it's definitely real.
Misty's eyes lit up and she pumped her fists.
Arceus! Arceus! I've got to see one day. I've got to see one someday. I need it. Speaking of Arceus,
Interrupted again.
did you know that the reason Ekrutique Shrine is so popular is because not only is it connected to the legendary Pokemon Ho-Oh and Lugia, but is also one of the closest places in Johto to the Sinjoh ruins and Arceus itself? What are you, a tour guide?
Oh.
Something like that.
Typically.
Ah! Ah! Oh gosh. There you are.
Called the Misty as he started towards her increasingly large group, also wearing kimono. Nothing fancy, but he did look smart. You could tell he was only wearing it because of the occasion called for it.
What the heck are you? What the heck have you been doing, Brock? You kind of just disappeared back there. Nothing much. Just getting an autograph from Lorelei.
And gleefully a Misty.
Lorelei?
Misty squeaked and jumped.
Where?
The usually cool and confident Misty was gone, apparently.
Hello.
A tall red-haired woman with a powerful presence wearing an amazingly extravagant purple kimono had followed Brock over to us. A tiny eep sound escaped Misty's mouth as she turned bright red and scrambled to hide behind Erika.
I'm not emotionally ready.
Erika tried to hide her snorts of laughter. Of course, this was Lorelei, a particularly popular member of the Indigo Elite League or an extraordinary ice-type trainer. Essentially, everyone bowed quite deeply to her in respect. Lorelei giggled and waved again.
Relax, relax.
Yet, she coolly uttered in a deep, commanding voice.
My new friend Brock here told me my biggest fan was around somewhere, so I was hoping to say hi.
The sound of a deep, sharp breath being taken, as Missy did her best to regain her composure and emerge from Erika's tall security.
I hope you find her. Them. I hope you find them. But while you're here, would you mind giving me an autograph too? I think you're really pretty. I mean, pretty cool.
She gently stuttered, smooth, but admittedly impressive considering she was squeaking and hiding just a moment ago. Lorelei smiled so warmly at Misty that it could thaw ice.
To Misty, right? You're quite the rising star. I have some magazines with you in them at home.
Again, right. Could have sworn I saw steam rising from Misty's white face.
There we go.
Gave the pet, and I saw Misty's eyes dart across it multiple times as she took it in.
Good luck catching the red Gyarados. Wait, good luck catching the red Gyarados.
From the autograph.
You think it's real too?
Asked Lorelei, finally sounding a little less awkward.
Absolutely.
She nodded with conviction.
There are so many Pokemon in the world. Surely it wouldn't be strange for something like that to be real.
Her eyes still transfixed on the autograph, particularly because she seemed like she was struggling to look Lorelei in the eyes.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorelei. This is really cool of you to do.
I beamed at her.
It's nothing. I love visiting Ekrotique for New Year, so it's nice to see more faces from Kanto here this year.
What It certainly was nice to be meeting new people, but the shrine area was constantly getting busier, and Jasmine was being restless.
If Whitney doesn't hurry up, the shrine will... if Whitney doesn't hurry up, the shrine will be too busy, and there'll be no mochi left for her. There better be some mochi left for me.
Along came Whitney, dashing to the city streets towards our party while trying not to trip over her own kimono. She frowned as she looked at all of us and helped herself to some of the few remaining balls of mochi.
All you morning people from Kanto are gonna make me look bad. This is still pretty early for me, you know, so it's not like I didn't make an effort.
They're now full. Jasmine smiled and giggled sheepishly, patting Whitney's head. Whitney definitely seemed like she had been in a hurry to get here. Her cute, bright pink and white kimono was a pretty loose fit, and she made no effort to hide the fact that she was wearing her usual pair of sneakers. Erika smiled reservedly.
You're not wrong that most you're not wrong that most of us are morning people. Don't let it get to you, sweetie. We were happy to wait for you.
Jasmine said enthusiastically, and I gave Whitney a reassuring wink. Whitney rubbed her eyes and slapped her cheeks to wake herself up a little more.
It's no big it's no big deal. Let's get this over with so I can try some of that great looking street food.
Rush began to head towards her critique shrine, including her Pokemon. While bigger Pokemon like Ampy and Alakazam were fine on their own, I did worry about Eevee getting lost in a crowd that big, so I hobbled in an arm of my kimono.
I'm sure you have more important people to visit the shrine with than us, huh, Lorelei?
Blurted out awkwardly.
Actually, I think I'll tag along with all of you if you don't mind.
One day and Misty as she followed our group. Misty's jaw hanging gave for a few moments as she continued to process the situation.
Oh, that's super neat.
I heard Brock laughing pretty loudly from the other side of the group. Erika and I giggled to one another.
How are you holding up, hun?
Erika rubbed her thumb along my cold free hand as we joined the pretty sizable queue for the shrine. I looked back at her and raised an eyebrow, fidgeting with her hand on my own as Eevee made himself comfortable on my other arm. Why? Erika beamed at me and playfully bumped her hips into mine.
Just a year ago, I was the only person you spent time with. Now look at you, jumping across the Johto and socializing with so many people on New Year's Day. I'm proud of you.
I opened my mouth to reply, but I didn't think of anything to say. I just blushed and smiled warmly at her. She was right. The crowd closest to the shrine was so stuffed that Erika and I had inevitably gotten separated from some of the others in the group. Jasmine and Whitney were both so close to us, though. We could hear Lorelei's deep, powerful voice coming from somewhere behind us, so the others likely weren't far.
It is a lot busier than usual this year. We're more or less used to this.
Jasmine giggled, but Whitney looked bored. Considering Jasmine's usual shyness, her confidence with the situation indicated to me that this was something she had been doing for many years. Evie skirted around my arm, trying to stay comfortable. I did my best to prevent him from being too crushed by the crowd, but he didn't seem disturbed. He just made a few quiet yelps. Seemingly noticing Evie's muttering, a young girl who stood in front of me bounced excitedly and turned around. She had beautiful long black hair and deep dark eyes contrasted with a bright lilac kimono. She really stood out, despite looking like she was only about 8 or 9 years old.
Alright, so I know who this is. Excuse me, miss, is that an Eevee?
Yeah, asks me politely. He popped his head out from my arm and yipped at the girl happily.
Ah, hello, Eevee. Nice to meet you. I'm Valerie.
And gleefully greeted my Eevee as a delighted smile plastered her face.
Can I pet it, please?
Nodded coolly. You may pet him. He seems to like you already. She happily pet and squished Eevee's head and upper back, giggling.
He's he's Oh gosh, he's Pardon me. He's beautiful. You can tell how much I love Eevee. If I wasn't so busy here, I'd bring out my own to meet. Wait. You can tell how much I love Eevee. If it wasn't so busy here, I'd bring out my own to meet him. Oh, hi there, Alakazam.
Waved at my Alakazam too, who waved back nonchalantly before continuing to pet Eevee. Erika frowned concernedly.
Valerie, sweetie, are you okay in this crowd? Are your parents nearby?
I smiled sweetly in Erika and continued to pet Eevee.
Please don't worry about me, miss. I'm here with Naoko.
Piped up.
Naoko? Naoko? You mean of the Kimono Girls?
I nodded.
Yep. I get to spend time with them all sometimes.
Girls were something of a local celebrity group here in Ekritik. They put on regular shows in the city dance hall and regularly help with city events like this one.
Where is she, sweetie?
Erika, still concerned that Valerie was by herself in this crowd.
Just up ahead.
She didn't appear to be at all stressed.
I joined the queue because I wanted to see everyone's kimonos closer up. Everyone is so beautiful this year.
Eyes appeared to sparkle as she admired Erika and I's New Year attire. Jasmine blushed timidly as Valerie admired her kimono. In contrast, Whitney grinned confidently and ruffled Valerie's hair.
What do you think? Pretty cool, right?
Whitney's compliment bitching. Valerie merely pouted and patted down her own hair.
Excuse me, miss, could you not do that? I worked really hard on my hair today.
Pink and stepped behind Jasmine, looking dejected. Erika and I giggled to each other. We were happy to keep Valerie company until the queue eventually became more focused near the shrine's offering box. The area to the side of the shrine wasn't quite as busy. The shrine caretakers as well as the kimono girls were offering assistance to patrons and making sure the queue moved along smoothly. Some people were tying wooden plaques and wishes and prayers to the shrine too, before making the way back to town. One of the kimono girls, a beautiful woman in an extravagant red and green kimono, waved towards us looking a little agitated.
Gosh. Valerie, you can't just run off like that when it's this busy.
Giggling carefreely.
It's okay, Naoko. I got to meet an Eevee.
He then ran off to see the other kimono girl. Naoko sighed and bowed to us in thanks.
Thank you for watching her. I'm supposed to be taking responsibility for her today, but she's getting to a rebellious age. Oh, it was nothing.
Smiled politely.
She's a delightful young girl. I'm relieved she didn't cause you any trouble.
The warm pleasantly before looking over our group again.
Nice to see you, Jasmine, Whitney. I do hope you're both enjoying yourselves.
Jasmine playfully patted the slightly grumpy Whitney on the head and smiled at Naoko.
We are. We are. Thank you for always working so hard. And Sabrina, it's been such a long time. It's good to see you again.
Naoko beamed at me. Likewise, I replied coolly.
You know each other?
Erika asked in surprise.
Yes. Excuse me. Yes, it was a little unorthodox, but her family put on a psychic stage show at Ecrutique Dance Hall once a few years ago, and we helped with it, so we are acquainted.
I laughed and I flushed a little. She rubbed my arm. Anyway, this is Erika, Celadon City's gym leader. I tried to save face by changing the subject.
Nice to finally meet you, Erika. I'm Naoko. It's a pleasure.
Wound up the area around her with her smile.
Have you considered becoming a kimono girl, Erika? You look like you'd have a natural talent for it.
Naoko joked, making Erika blush and laugh nervously.
I'm flattered. Unfortunately, I'm far too busy for something like that, I think.
Suddenly Valerie was rushing back to us, this time with a very pampered and happy-looking Evie in her arms.
Evie! Evie? Meet Evie! Can you play with us?
Asked me excitedly. I nodded calmly and gently led Evie down to the ground. Easy on them, okay? I pat Evie's head before he bounced off with Valerie and her Evie.
That reminds me, Sabrina? The kimono girls are actually Eevee experts too. Perhaps you could ask them about your problem?
I went a little pink, not too eager with the idea of exposing my ignorance on Pokemon to someone I barely knew. I had a reputation to uphold, right? Beyond, I muttered out loud. I decided to finish the thought. Do you know much about Espeon? Go giggled confidently and pulled a Pokeball from her robes.
Come on out to say hi.
Pokeball's light faded and there it was. An Espeon. The first one I'd ever seen in person. Its short purple hair glimmered fantastically in the morning sun, and its eyes held a darkness that betrayed deep wisdom and calm. How? I asked quietly, stunned by the coincidence that Naoko just so happened to have one. I asked again with more vigor. Please tell me, how do you evolve Eevee into Espeon? Naoko stroked her own chin almost playfully, then looked over to where Valerie was playing with both Eevee, and smiled at me gently.
To be honest, Sabrina, I'm not sure you even need to ask.
Valerie fell backwards, slipping onto the ground with her mouth wide, causing most of us to look at her. Her Eevee was staring intently at my Eevee, with a glowing and increasingly intense white. Erika excitedly grabbed and shook my shoulder.
Honey, he's evolving!
surreal. To think I could have blinked and missed it. One, 1 minute the Eevee were playing together with Valerie, and then without even me noticing, the Piran cheeks grew out its tufts, his body becoming more slender while his bushy tail thinned and forked into two at the end. My eyes widened. It's beyond? Thinking I was calling him, my Pokemon ran and jumped into my arms on my kimono. The light faded and in my arms was a gorgeous Espeon, with lilac fur glowing in the morning sun as Nalcos did. He yipped happily at me, clearly proud of himself. I honestly struggled to stop tears from welling up in my eyes as I held and looked at him. Finally, I did it.
Sabrina, you did it!
That's been excitedly clapped.
Wow, nice one. Oh, gosh, Whitney's voice. Wow, nice one.
And he stared at Espeon surprised.
It's a shame it's not. It's a shame it's not a normal type anymore, though. Ow!
Yeah, Jasmine elbowed Winnie in the gut and Erika laughed. Composing myself, I tried to wrap my head around what happened. I don't even know what I did.
Espeon and Umbreon are Pokemon that evolve from having a close bond to their trainer. If it feels trust and friendship with its trainer through travel, shared experiences, even just a great meal, all those things make an Eevee more likely to evolve into Espeon or Umbreon.
Explained, smiling proudly at me.
The main difference is that Espeon evolves from Eevee who associate their happiest memories of their bond with the daytime and sunlight, as yours seem to.
See, I wasn't really sure what to say. I was happy. I put Espeon on my arms and tried to dry my eyes and onto my kimono.
Hey, Miss Sabrina!
Valerie spoke up excitedly, hugging her own Eevee.
You should... Gosh. You should make your new... You should make your new... For Pete's sake. You should make your New Year prayer now. It'll be good luck. I'm gonna pray for my Eevee to evolve into a fairy.
Eevee, huh? I smelled chicken when we nodded.
I think praying now is a good idea.
Jasmine.
Besides, the others have caught up to us, and I think Whitney here is getting bored of queuing.
After thinking I'll go once more, we rejoined the dense queue with Misty and the others.
Oh, hey! When did your Eevee evolve?
Misty exclaimed, and then Erika giggled.
You know, Sabrina, if your Espeon loves sunlight and close bonds, maybe it means he was inspired by a sudden change in lifestyle recently. Doesn't that remind you of someone?
Teasingly, her eyes lidded. I quietly pecked Erika on the cheek in gratitude. Maybe... The shrine itself was finally in sight. It felt like we'd been queuing in this increasingly dense crowd forever. Looking ahead into the front of the queue, I spotted some familiar faces. Janine with her father Koga, making their prayers at the offering box. Janine irritably turned to stick her tongue out at someone. When I followed her line of sight, I noticed she was responding to the teases of a young blue-haired boy praying with Violet City's cheerleader. His son, maybe? Janine seemed a little too old to be sticking her tongue out at boys like that, but Jasmine clearly found it funny. The shrine was adorned by fantastic bronze statues of a large bird Pokemon. Each statue's presence was almost intimidating, portraying the strong majesty of the Pokemon it depicted, almost as if he couldn't contain almost as if he couldn't contain himself. Morty began to lecture our group again.
Statues of the legendary Pokemon Ho-Oh. Aren't they beautiful? They say Ho-Oh roosts on the bell tower in the east of Ekrutique.
Critique actually seen Ho-Oh though? I asked doubtfully.
No.
Morty gloomily admitted.
Ho-Oh and Lugia supposedly both flew away following a disaster at the burnt tower to the city's west many years ago. No one knows where they've been since. You know what?
I interjected right before it was her turn to pray.
I've actually heard a lot of rumors that legendary bird Pokemon have been spotted at a far off part of the Sevi Islands, sort of near where I live. Is that right?
He frowned, almost as if he was jealous of her. She rung the bell, threw some polka dollars into the offertory box, and made her prayer.
With that, excuse me. And with that, I should really be going. It's been wonderful to meet you all. May our paths cross again.
Only to each of us and waved. Now there was a person who really seemed like she had her life together.
But bye, Lorelei. I hope you find your #1 fan, which totally wasn't me, by the way.
He waved after her and then slapped her own face, taking a deep and embarrassed-sounding groan.
Misty has always had a huge celebrity crush on Lorelei, if it wasn't obvious. I'm really happy she finally got to meet her.
Whispered to Erika, and I, as Misty made her prayer.
Isn't Missy dating someone right now, though?
Erika, sleep.
Yeah, but they're not really serious. She'll probably be seeing some other boy or girl within a few months.
Giggled fondly.
It's so cute. Missy is still just a kid after all, huh?
I grinned. We're barely adult ourselves, you know. Erika paused to think for a few moments as Misty and Brock waved, making their way back to town.
You're right. Sometimes it really doesn't feel like it, and I forget how young we still are.
Finally, our turn to pray. Whitney was in and out like a dart.
Ow, bow, clap, clap, bow, food. See you in a bit, Jasmine.
Dashed up back to town as Jasmine made her prayer at a more relaxed pace.
What kind of thing will you be praying about and wishing for, Sabrina?
As we reached the offertory box, tilting your head. You know, thinking about what you said earlier, this time last year you were genuinely the only person I spoke to besides Alakazam. Alakazam and nodded sagely next to me. But now, I'm waking up early to celebrate New Year's Day in Johto with good people I've never even met. I'm dating someone I've admired for years and my even evolved into an Espeon. The past year has been the most eventful year of my entire life, even more so than the rocket invasion and meeting the champion. I can scarcely believe how much my life has changed in just 1 year. And it's because I took your advice and started to try new things with you. I stared at her directly in the eyes as I spoke, and she stared back, smiling sweetly. We squeezed each other's hands. We threw $50 each into the box. We rang the bell, we bowed twice, clapped twice, and bowed again.
Chapter. Oh, that was cute. Was not expecting to see Kalos gym leader make a guest appearance here.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that, honestly.
Yeah. You think Valerie had the bug eyes as a child as well?
Maybe. Yeah, I enjoyed that chapter. That was nice. I honestly kind of forgot about the whole Eevee thing, so I'm glad they brought that back. Anything else we got?
Just taking a breather for a moment.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Before, yeah, we're reading at least one more chapter, but before we do anything else, I know your audio kind of tends to cut out when you switch between like your Sabrina voice and your narrator voice.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of one and the same.
Like when Sabrina's speaking and when Sabrina's narrating, it tends to have an audio cutout.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it might be just me kind of having to adjust myself a little because uh, you know, no, I'm not perfect. I sometimes need to take a quick breath to readjust myself. Pretty sure my internet's fine. And I think that especially that last chapter was like one of the longest, one of the longest you read.
It is.
Yeah, that's. I feel like that might be the longest of the story so far. At least it felt like it.
It took about an hour to read. The chapter before it took about 30 minutes by comparison.
Yeah. And we've been, let me see. Yeah, we've been going for an hour 30, or just about.
Oh dear. Rock's voice is murder.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine. So I may or may not like find a different game for story time next week, because Splatoon is getting a bit intense for this show. It's a bit hard to keep my focus.
Alright, let's go through chapter 15 and then I don't know what we do after that. We either continue or push it off to next episode.
I guess it depends how you feel after this.
Chapter 15, Johto. I've worked hard and studied hard my whole life, but I never felt like I had hit the ground running, keeping busy like I did this year.
Okay. Oh wait, I'm still not muted. Oops.
Ready now.
Chapter 15, Johto. I've worked hard and studied hard my whole life, but I never felt like I had hit the ground running, keeping busy like I did this year.
I think, okay, there we go. And the obligations were out of the way. Erika and I had some quality time to spend with each other in the first week of the year. It was over before we knew it though, and the whole of Japan was suddenly back to work. Not only were we back to work, we had said we'd make time to help Janina and Baobab with surveying Johto for the Safari Zone moving project. I had also promised the soap companies to help promote the Pokegear. Suffice to say, there was a lot to do, very quickly. In the past, I might have said, sorry, too busy, or I'd rather not. For the first time, I felt like I had personal stakes in these projects. I owe it to Erika, and I owe it to myself to see things through for once. And it wasn't like I wasn't motivated. I woke up on the second day of the year with my girlfriend sleeping beside me. Yeah, I got up to feed a hungry and energetic Espeon. My motivation had actually never been this good. It was probably a good year to have so much planned. Still, this unfortunately meant that even with the weather eventually warmed up again, Erika's tea get-togethers settled on Fountain were quite few and far between. We'd spend the majority of our free time in Johto instead, almost like professional tourists.
Read 'em and weep.
When they showed off her new shiny Pokegear to Erika and I, as we made our way from Goldenrod and Goldenrod City to the Ilex Forest one Wednesday morning towards the end of winter. We were surveying Pokemon habitats like Janine suggested. I don't think Whitney had used the right idiom there, but whatever. Only just got one? I raised an eyebrow. It was a little pathetic for Silpco's supply to Johto to have been caught up for this long. The issue had been on the news and everything.
Yeah, but that's not the point. Check it out.
Whitney pointed to a faded scribble on the side of her Pokegear.
I got Lance himself to sign it when he gave it to me. Heck yeah!
Considered her Pokegear. It looks kind of faded already.
Shut up! At least my memory of his signature will last forever.
Whitney pouted, tearing up a little as she fiddled with it. Erika giggled to herself.
What's your favorite feature so far, Whitney? Probably the radio. Gosh, probably the radio. Anyway, I hope you all don't mind if I put it on right now, actually.
You're the one Pokemon away, Mom. Whitney Tune in to Professor Oak's talk show, Pokemon Talk.
Gosh. Wonderful. Breaking news! A bunch of routes have decided to make an appearance. I cannot. A bunch of routes have decided to make an appearance at Route 34. If you're a trainer who's...
Endearing voice could be heard on the radio, but the signal wasn't great. Whitney's Pokecure probably needed more tuning.
Okay, so it wasn't Oak speaking. So I get for not reading ahead. Oh! Hoenn native Pokemon here in Johto?
I lit up. I was admittedly a little surprised too. I had always wanted to catch him around.
Hold on. Did you say your line or no?
Yeah.
Hold on, Erika grabs my arm. Route 34? Isn't that where we are right now? Alright, 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah!
Yeah! Whitney and I both exclaimed at the same time. Long story short, that was how I caught her out. Even if the Alex Forest thing didn't quite work out, it definitely didn't feel like a waste of time anymore. Besides, it was time spent with Erika. When we reached Alex Forest, Bugsy was there waiting for us. He waved differently.
Welcome! Today I'm gonna show Today I'm gonna show you guys why it'd be a bad idea to have a safari zone near Ilex Forest or Azalea Town.
So yeah, the Alex Forest thing probably wasn't gonna work out. And Erika sighed.
Sorry, Bugsy. We didn't mean to ignore you, but Janine insisted we at least look.
His shoulders and beckoned us to follow him, letting out a sight there.
It's okay. It's nice to see you all, and I get to show you some really neat things while you're here. Oh, he's gonna show us Headbutt. I love Headbutt.
He really did like Headbutt, huh? Erika and I exchanged glances, trying to stifle our laughter. Bugsy grinned and pulled an action pose he must have thought looked cool.
Scyther, use Headbutt!
Scyther smashed his deceptively tough head into a nearby pine tree, causing a dark colored round Pokemon, a pine cone, to jump out of it with a heavy thump.
No, no, no! It'll explode!
When he panicked and hit behind me, but Bugsy waved his hand at her nonchalantly.
It's okay, look.
Bugsy gently approached the pine cone and stroked it with his hand.
There, see? There, see? Sorry for disturbing you, buddy.
Despite his diminutive body, he easily climbed the tree with a fairly heavy Pokemon in his neck and hoisted it back up to its home. He jumped back down again and dusted off his shorts.
And that's how you use a Headbutt attack to find wild Pokemon. I don't like to disturb them unless I actually want to catch one, though.
Forever in me.
I'm impressed, Bugsy. You know a lot about how to handle bug Pokemon for someone so young.
Bugsy rubbed his wheels confidently, but was evidently a little flattered by the compliment.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, follow me again.
Words, but Bugsy commanding his sight to cut down loose bushes and trees that blocked the path, until we arrived at a small shrine.
Look.
He paused, planting his butt firmly on the ground and putting his other hand confidently on his hip.
This is why we can't have a. This is why we can't have a safari zone anywhere near here. This place is far too important. This tiny shrine? I don't get it.
We put our hands on her hip.
Someone's left food here too. What a waste.
The shrine needs to look at the food.
Wait.
He held a rod of his bug net out in front of him, as if he were some kind of guard, stopping Whitney from getting closer.
It's an offering to the mythical Pokemon Celebi, which is supposedly connected to this place.
My Yonsei thought. Do you believe Celebi exists? Otzi shook his head.
It doesn't matter. The mere possibility that a time-traveling Pokemon that protects the forest could be real should be enough to make people cautious to build near this place, even for a good cause, in my opinion.
There really are a lot of legends in Johto, aren't there? The bridge of my nose. It seems like finding a large wildland space in Johto might not be as simple as Janine hoped. Bugsy nodded.
Mm-hmm. Sinnoh's even worse. And that's why we're trying to build near the ruins of Alpha up north. And that's why trying to build near the ruins of Alpha up north is a bad idea as well. The gym leaders from Ekrutique and Violet would tell you that much.
We checked out the areas near the ruins of Alpha a couple of months later. It felt like we had immediately hit a very expected dead end. I had gone with Janine while Erika was busy with something in camp, and both the Ekritique and Violet City gym leaders were quickly on her case.
Sorry. Seriously, Janine. I'm sorry, but I tried to tell you over the phone, right?
Said awkwardly.
This place isn't just home to rare ancient Pokemon, but it's got like connections to unknown Suicune, even Arceus. You just can't mess with that stuff. What's the big deal?
And I have a lot of patience.
Safari Zone is a good place. It doesn't harm anything. Is there nowhere around here that'd make a good space to make it? You just don't get it.
Morty laid his head back, clearly tired by the situation.
It's not just about space, it's about habitat, right? I don't think old man Slowpoke would agree to having it around here anyway.
Visibly hurt.
I'm really trying here. Shouldn't have bothered, kid, but I guess you get your hard-headedness from your fool of a father.
City leader, who I still wasn't really acquainted with, laughed heartily at her. It's admittedly kicked me off. Okay, let's be civil. That tone is completely unnecessary. I stared him down coldly and effortlessly. He was right that she shouldn't have expected so much, but talking condescendingly to a teenager, it didn't sit well with me, and I wasn't about to be dragged into the weird family rivalry. But standing up for Janine Land had also made me know how soft I was getting. I didn't hate it, but I never used to do this kind of thing. Shoulder gently. Talk to the others, but I think they might agree there are a lot of reasons this area isn't appropriate. I agree too. We're just surveying, right? There is no rush.
I know that. I know already. It's just...
Then Morty and mouth turned to give me a hand. Morty sighed awkwardly and nodded.
Listen... Listen, Janine, I'm not trying to make this harder for you. Tell you what. I can help in my own way by telling you which bits of Johto should be absolutely off the cards. That'll help you save time, right?
It's pouting.
Thanks. I'm sorry. It's just really important to me, and I've made no progress.
Nina gave the other gym leaders an awkward, defeated smile. Time to go home. We sat ourselves on the train together and sighed. To make matters worse, my social anchor Erika wasn't here, so I was pretty quiet. I didn't really know what to say to help Janine feel better. Ah, what a stressful day. But luckily my knight in the kimono phoned me on the poking cure just as the train was pulling into Centrum.
Hey, babe, can I ask you a favor?
Down the phone when I picked up. I immediately blushed. She had evolved the pet name that she was using and I still wasn't used to it. Boris, what is it? I asked, trying to pretend my face wasn't red.
Could you meet me at Celadon Fountain when you get back? I'd really like your opinion on something.
Just got back to Saffron anyway, so I'll see you soon.
Oh, Sabrina, tell Erika about the wild skip bloom on Route 14.
On the phone,
Wait, really?
I yelled back in surprise.
I'll have a look next time I visit Balba. Thank you, Janine. See you soon, Sabrina.
I turned to Janine. Sorry about today, Janine. I'll look at next time.
It's okay, really. It gave me some things to think about anyway. So I'm going to talk to Warden Slowpoke about it. Say hi to Erika for me.
To the roof near my building and zipped down towards the Fuchsia City. So I made my way to the down fountain to see Erika, and I gave her a fond wave when I saw her. She was sat by herself with her arms crossed. Uh, are you calm? I asked as I approached.
No, I'm fine. Thank you for coming, sweetie.
Waved back.
I won't keep you long, but today I got called to Viridian City for my input on a project the city wants to work on.
What happened? I raised an eyebrow and sat myself next to her.
With Viridian Gym still empty, the city has been kind of lacking in Pokemon experts, and Viridian Forest is becoming overgrown. It's actually becoming a little too dangerous there for new trainers.
In disbelief. I can't imagine Viridian Forest being a particularly dangerous place.
I found it hard to believe at first too, but supposedly the ground-type trainers from Giovanni's gym would regular oh my gosh, regularly help keep the forest tended to and make sure it was passable for newer trainers. We all know how that turned out though. Most of them were undercover rockets.
Sighed. It had really been a while now since Viridian Gym was active. So, should I help with the forest? Erica with a serious expression.
More or less. To put it briefly, I've been asked by Professor Oak himself to help revitalize Viridian Forest, to make it safer for new trainers.
Erica, that's wonderful. With your knowledge of nature and botany, you do a far better job than Rock or even Giovanni. I bet you could help the forest look truly beautiful. Erica smiled back at me sweetly and stood up, getting out her fan and covering her mouth with it.
Yeah,
Sighed and stretched.
I would be good at it, right?
Right, I echoed confidently. There's seriously no one better suited. Is that what you wanted my opinion on?
Mm-hmm.
Erica rubbed my shoulder from behind.
I suppose I should give it my all.
Reached out. I reached for her hand on my shoulder and rubbed it in mine. It was cold.
Thanks for, thanks for your input, sweetie. I'm going to turn in for the night to make sure. Excuse me. Thanks for your input, sweetie. I'm going to turn in for the night, so make sure you get home quickly, okay? I don't want you getting cold.
Reached from behind and made her way home before I could really say anything. Uh, see you soon. I called after her as she walked away. A little sad that we couldn't spend more time together. Fortunately, things continue like that in the coming months. I saw a lot less of Erika because of how busy she'd gotten, juggling her own gym, helping survey Johto, and revitalizing Viridian Forest. I was getting busier too, with the weather warming up and spring finally in full swing. I was getting caught up in promoting the Poke Gear when I wasn't running my gym or helping Janine. Photo shoots, radio promotions in Golden City, television spots. I was really something of a merchandising partner for the product. It still irked me, but I was good at it, and the company liked it. The magazines and commercials were popular, and the trainer appreciated seeing a strong trainer advertising the product rather than some other celebrity. I even got to share a magazine cover or two with Lance. Not that I've been able to meet him in person or anything. We were just photo edited into the same image. Oh well. I wasn't really happy that I barely got to see Erika either, but I did make the effort. I would visit her in her gym sometimes after work. Not too often. I'd just check up on her and spend time with her. She was happy with it. It had been a long time since I visited Erika's gym on a work day, and it brought back some weird memories. For one thing, that old man I got angry at years ago was still outside the gym regularly. He still watched the girls through the windows. I had learned to make peace with it, but it still annoyed me. I just bit my tongue and accepted that Erika was okay with it. Erika's gym trainer were always happy to see me too. I'd become acquainted with some of them during over the past year, but I was always surprised at how pleasant they were to me, especially since I used to be so jealous of them. I was honestly a little ashamed about the way I thought of them in the past, but it was beginning to get really difficult to find time where Erika and I could be alone together or relaxed around each other. She seemed to dislike behaving too much like a couple while she was still working, always covering her mouth with that fan of hers when I complimented her or flirted with her, and would scarcely stay with me afterwards, as she would usually have to prepare something or other for the next day. We eventually get another Wednesday looking around Johto together, which gave us a few moments to be ourselves around each other. This time our destination was the area surrounding Blackthorn City, an isolated city hidden in the mountains. While Morty hadn't advised us that it was out of the question, he did warn us that the gym leader wasn't particularly friendly. None of us felt particularly optimistic about this location either. During the trip to the city, Erica and I held hands like usual, but I struggled to hold a conversation with her. Or rather, it felt like she didn't have the energy she usually had. It felt unusual.
I'm sorry we haven't spent. I'm sorry we haven't spent much time together lately, Sabrina.
Said out of nowhere as we neared Blackthorn City. She didn't look at me. She just fanned herself. It's okay. I know we're both really busy, but once this is all over, we can see each other a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Erica responded, still not looking at me, still planning herself. Normally this would be worrying, right? And I was kind of worried about her, but I didn't feel paranoid or anything. I guess the reason I wasn't paranoid was because she was clinging to my hand so tightly. I mean, the whole day, she had, the whole day, she had been holding my hand a lot more tightly than she usually did. Not forcefully or aggressively, more like she wanted to make sure I wouldn't suddenly let go of her. Even though she wasn't saying much to me, I knew she needed my company while she had it. We met with Bruno when we arrived in the city, and he greeted us both with a kind smile.
It's good to see you both. I do hope you are well.
I mouth to say something, but Erica spoke first.
We are. Thank you, Bruno.
I talked to Bruno. What made you decide to meet with us here? I asked.
The mountains in this area are fantastic for training, so I already spend a lot of time here. I know the area well. However, the Pokemon are generally rock and ground types, or other species suited to caverns and crags. I do not believe there is much potential for variety in the ecosystem here.
That was his given reason, but in retrospect, I also think he was also here to help us feel less intimidated by Blackstone City's gym leader. While we were making a scene in Quiet City, it was only a matter of time until she clashed with us. A beautiful dragon tamer with light blue hair, not unlike a dragon's tail, and a blazing fire in her eyes, but not a pleasant woman to be around. We had barely so much as introduced ourselves to Claire when she ruthlessly rebuffed us.
And turn this ancient and sacred city into some kind of tourist attraction? Are you actually trying to make me angry?
This really felt like arguing. We merely stood there. Both Erica and I were transfixed by her fierce, wild gaze. Bruno, unsurprisingly, seemed completely unperturbed. She then fixated her gaze on me, glaring directly into my eyes, with her arms crossed and her brow scowling. Well, she moved around. While she was around my height and probably close to my age too, something about her posture and her position made her feel like a giant compared to me. But I tried to stand my ground. I was certainly good at faking it by now.
Actually, you know what? Just looking at you is making me angry, Gym Leader Sabrina. You especially, you really piss me off. What?
I heard Erica mumble irritably. I didn't say anything. I just continued to stare back at her, my fins clenched slightly. I had never even met Claire before today.
I've seen the promotions for that little wrist toy, and now this fool's errand? I used to think you were your own person, a powerful individual who didn't care what others thought of her.
Her teeth and her tone of voice escalated slightly. Erica opened her mouth to say something, but Claire continued her little self-important rant.
Now I see how wrong I was. You cozy up to Silphco. You help cook us brats on some wild goose chase. Is that all you do now? Just do whatever anyone asks of you, no matter how inconsequential or childish it is? I'm truly disappointed. You're not the admirable woman I thought you were, but a pathetic, weak-willed sellout.
You searching them blinking aqua eyes, intent on making me feel as weak and small as she thought I was.
That's enough. That is hardly necessary, Claire.
His voice boomed, quelling the situation. Erica was stood close to me, fanning herself, evidently a little shaking. I honestly didn't know how I was feeling myself, though.
Get out of my sight. Now.
Baring her fangs angrily and waving her hand in front of herself dismissively before turning her back.
Oh, by the way, tell that childish cousin of mine to stop messing around with those pretty toys too, or I really will have to take his place at the Elite Four.
left us to ourselves again. We all knew when we were beat, and the encounter left us wondering why we had even bothered coming. We wandered Route 45 mostly in silence, but Bruno was right. It wasn't a location suitable for a diverse roster of wild Pokemon. We probably could have worked that out easily enough without the Blackthorn gym leader's answer. I helped and smiled sheepishly at the other two. Bruno smiled back and chuckled to himself, but Erika frowned.
The one time we get to socialize together and it ends up being a waste of everyone's time. I'm busy, you're busy, this could have been completely avoided.
Her frustration aloud. Time spent in pleasant company, never a waste of time. I breathed calmly, trying to show her that I wasn't fazed by Claire's rant. Bruno nodded.
You know the old proverb. The best laid plans of Pikachu and men often go awry.
Erika opened her mouth to say something, but just forced a smile. The mood remained heavy. On Bruno's recommendation, we did briefly visit Dark Cave on our way back to Goldenrod City. I even caught a Wobbuffet for my trouble. At first I did it because I wanted to prove to Erika that we hadn't wasted our time today, but I have to admit I was endeared to the creature. Wobbuffet was a species that had become instinctively resilient within the oppressive darkness it had lived in. Erika and I saw Bruno off at Route 29 and made our way back to the Magnet train station. Erika still wore that fatigue expression and would bring out her fan almost compulsively, but she kept a grip on my hand all the while.
You know,
He spoke up as we neared Goldenrod.
I'm starting to feel like Janine doesn't actually understand what makes the Safari Zone special.
Continued her train of thought.
The Safari Zone is more than just a tourist attraction you can slap down anywhere. It sometimes feels like she wants results more than she wants to do the right thing for the Pokemon, the park and the Pokemon.
Stubborn, I chuckled. But it should be only a matter of time until she realizes if she truly does care about the park. Erika sighed and looked into the twilight sky.
Maybe I shouldn't have agreed to this. I could have had an actual productive day in Kanto, and Claire wouldn't have said those things to you.
I tilted my head and hopped to laugh at her. You still hung up on that? Have I not been doing a good job at acting like I'm over it?
Sorry, Sabrina. I've been meaning to ask if you were okay, but was just struggling to find the right way to do so.
Hesitance was weird for her. I shook my head. To be honest, I'm just trying not to let it get to me. Some of what she said stung, sure. Some of the things she said resonated with me and vindicated that old part of myself who thought life was just meant to be me running a gym in solitude. Erika covered her mouth with her fan, but her eyes looked pained. She looked at her feet as she walked. Because she wouldn't let go of my hand, I reached out over her head with my free hand and stroked her hair. Why are you letting it get to you like this, though? It's me she berated, not you. Not to mention, I averted her eyes from her and frowned. I'm, I'm still not sure where all that even came from. When we had never met her before, there was so much anger and discord within her. It made me think that more than anything, it comes from her own issues rather than anything I did. Erika looked at me and frowned back, rubbing in my hand with her thumb. I shrugged, popping a smile at her in one final effort to show her I was okay. We made our way home to Kanto, mostly in silence. Normally, I was comfortable sharing contented silence with Erika, but this was different. She was evidently still frustrated and upset about the Safari Zone, about Meridian Forest, about Claire. I had no idea. Every time I asked her, she simply told me not to worry. The worst part about it, I was starting to realize that I really didn't know what to do or how to make her feel better in situations like this, and they seemed to be becoming more common.
Chapter.
So two things. We got a couple people watching, and second off, that was quite a heavy one, wasn't it? Oh god.
Screw Claire.
Yeah, I remember when I
Oh.
first first read through this, and I was really taken aback. Like all the ranting she did. It's like, good lord, women. Like what?
Yeah, hi, anime watcher here. My only comparison, my only exposure to Claire is, well, from the anime, and she's mostly even-keeled there.
I don't remember Claire too much, like game or anime, so yeah, I don't have any background for that, but oof.
What a tool.
Yeah, I haven't seen her in the anime, but I can definitely tell you that this is pretty accurate to how she is in the games.
Oh, is she just kind of a jerk in general?
Oh, yeah, I remember from, I haven't played the games, but I think it was some call me Johnny's review. Claire is just kind of a sore loser.
Oh, okay. She's one of those kinds of characters.
Yeah, she, I believe, refuses to give a badge to you if you beat her.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, just a very ill-tempered person.
So this is so this seems definitely in character for her from that then. Well,
Yes.
going from that, because I don't know if I made this clear at all, but my experience with the game specifically is fairly limited. So I'm mainly relying on these guys for that stuff.
You chose the one generation of the first five that I have the least familiarity with. But yeah, Claire's kind of a tool.
I believe she does come back eventually. I think in the sequel. I don't think she'll be in like this story again, but she'll definitely show up whenever we like do the sequel story, at least. For
Joy.
better or worse. So let's see how that goes. Yeah, I could be misremembering, but I feel like I almost wanted to punch the screen when I was reading this. Like, ugh, that was rough.
Gosh, there's always that one person at school.
Yeah, there's always gonna be that one jerk. They usually have like, I mean, sometimes they just want to be jerks because they're like that, but usually there's a reason they act like that.
Sometimes they just suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and spoilers. In game at least, it mainly comes from her frustrations of not being able to pass the Dragon Traveler in her hometown, and where the player character basically passes in the first try, so it basically shocks her, when she finds out, and then what ultimately gets her to give up the badge is the old sage threatening to inform Lance of her behavior.
Jeez,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
dang, they made her go through like a whole humiliation conga.
Yeah.
Well, that was interesting. I'm curious to see how this pans out in its final chapters.
Yeah. I don't remember where this first story ends on, so I guess we'll see.
3 more to go.
Yeah, those are definitely solid chapters. I'm enjoying the whole, like, again, the whole safari thing going on, and like the fact that it's not quite as easy as Janine thought it would be. And like having the again having the other gym leaders around is nice. I like the character dynamics here.
He feels like a Tanner role. She radiates Nico energy to me.
I can kind of feel that.
Oh gosh. I hope you enjoyed my very loose approximation of Troy Baker's southern voice for Morty.
Oh god. Indeed.
Oh boy.
Is there anything else we gotta say?
I don't think I have much else. Just I enjoyed the dynamics here, and I look forward to the conclusion.
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that. So, we got one more episode before Star Wars Hell. So how do we want to do this? Do we want to just considering how long this episode took, going through 3 chapters, do we want to just finish up this story before Star Wars, or do we want to do something else next week?
Yeah. I have no idea how long the last 3 are compared to these 3, so...
Yeah, I completely forgot that the Leia chapters took this, like, way longer.
If they're of comparable length, then I'm okay with, like, pairing them up with, like, 1 chapter of the Charmy story or Luigi's story.
Oh, yeah.
Just so we can give Tanner and or Ethan something to do.
That's
And
fair.
maybe next time I'll stick around and handle some of the gym leader voices, because I'm running out of lady voices.
Yeah. I'd be okay with that. We'd also have to give them a massive rundown, because they've joined into the story, like, really late.
Oh dear.
Mm.
Are we really doing Star Wars?
Well, we've talked about doing it so often now, so it's like... It's kind of just an obligation at this point. I mean, I myself just mainly want to do it because I'm curious about the Duel of the Fate script.
Like double the face? I'm kidding. It's actually fairly fun, but yes, we're gonna have words for that script.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, you're going in blind, so that's gonna be interesting. What if we could read it in an hour somehow?
That would be funny, but it'd also be kind of anticlimactic.
Just after all the 2-hour videos on one story, we read through one script in an hour, just because.
I guess it depends really on how much we mess up.
Oh gosh, it's gonna be a mess.
Because, like, what, we have, like, 50-something characters.
56.
can make a whole like fighting game with that alone. Good lord.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I might because just because I feel like this was mainly kind of messy for Splatoon, probably because I was doing a boss fight today. But I might if I just do regular stages, I might be able to do this game next episode. But I'm not sure. We'll see. I probably won't be playing anything during Star Wars because. I'm gonna be...
He's unfortunately in it.
Yeah, so you'll probably end up just seeing some random funny Star Wars gif instead. So yeah,
I
next
guess we could post some concept art from the script.
Oh, that would be cool. I'd be down with that. If I can find a way to make OBS switch between them, without me having to like do it manually, that would be cool. I don't know, we'll see. Needless to say, though, next episode is going to be the last time you're going to see me doing actual gameplay for probably a couple of episodes, depending on how long Star Wars takes.
Yeah, will probably be the last time you hear from Nova for a while also. Just giving all of you fair warning.
Oh yeah, Nova's not doing Star Wars, isn't he?
No, he
Okay.
actually values his time.
So, yeah. Yeah, besides, I do a lot more than just help voice act for Scrappy. You know, I actually do things, I actually have other hobbies than just playing video games and being on the internet.
Good for you. Man, I can't really respond to that other than good for you.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else either. Well, I think I found all the stages, huh? Okay, cool.
Oh, I might make some arts based on the stories that we read before. So, should that come to pass, your audience, you might be able to see them sometime soon.
Oh wait, what? Say what now? Say that again.
I might be making some art based on the stories that we read so far
Oh,
this show. So, your audience, if that comes to pass, you might see that soon.
I'd love to see that. That would be really cool.
Look forward to it. Well, it is. Today is Sunday in my time zone, and
Indeed.
if we do not reconvene before Thanksgiving, I hope all of you enjoy your holidays safely at a distance.
Or if you're in Europe or the UK like me, then it's just gonna be a regular day for us. Which sucks, because I would like turkey. It's good.
Until next time, and there will be a next time, that's a threat.
Yeah.
This has been Storytime with Scrappy and Friends. We bid you good night, and please wash your hands.
See ya, everybody.